If you're an American living in Mexico and you want to learn Spanish and you don't want to fail, this is the video for you. All right, so this creator made a really good video that I wanted to go over where she talked about how she never learned Spanish and she lived in Mexico for 3.5 years. So I want to go through this because she brings up a lot of good points on like what I talk about on why people fail to learn Spanish, even though they do live in Mexico or any Spanish speaking country. So let's go through it.
Me out. I know you read the title of this video and you're shaking your head, but just let me explain, please. Buenas, que onda? Soy Shani. Welcome back to my channel. If you clicked on this video just to drag me, cállate la boca. Siéntate y escúcheme primero, okay? Gracias. And don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you're already part of the family, welcome.
Well, I mean, she got the pronunciations down. She's she got some phrases down. So hey, you know,
Back. I love y'all so much for your continued support. I lived in Mexico for 3.5 beautiful years and I didn't learn Spanish. Yeah, I know, embarrassing, right? But in this video today, I'm going to be breaking down the efforts I made to learn Spanish, the situation that completely shattered my confidence, where I personally went wrong in my journey to learn Spanish, and also what I am doing to course correct. So without further ado, court is in session. Let me plead my case. When I moved to Mexico in 2021, one of my top priorities was finding a Spanish teacher. I knew that learning the language would be essential to me navigating my new life. So I posted in a few expat WhatsApp chats asking for recommendations, and the responses poured in. After sorting through the list and getting honest feedback, I chose a teacher. Before starting, she asked me some questions about my current Spanish skills, and to be honest, I was starting from zero. My Spanish vocabulary did not go beyond basic greetings such as hola, gracias, buenos dias, and de nada.
yeah, this was me too, right? So when I got to Mexico, all I knew was hola, gracias, cómo estás. You know, everybody has that high school class or that college class they took in Spanish, but none of that's going to actually prepare you for actually speaking and living in a Mexico for sure, especially Mexico, right? So hey, she's not alone. Trust me, this is pretty much pretty much everybody who didn't speak Spanish they come to Mexico.
That was as deep as it got with me. But based off of that, she created a curriculum tailored to my beginner needs, and we began our lessons, and I was so excited to learn and immerse myself in the language. For the first 2 months, our lessons were pretty consistent, but over time, I started to feel overwhelmed. She would introduce new materials without ensuring that I had fully understood the previous lesson, making it hard for me to build a solid foundation. And so my initial excitement to learn Spanish quickly turned into anxiety.
So okay, so this is the number one, right? Bad teachers. So you know what the problem with this is that some people just a lot of teachers just kind of teach in like a very high, like school way, high school way that that we're accustomed to. You give workbooks, you give like tests, and you just kind of hey, this week one, this week two. But with me, in the Spanish learning system that I've developed, you kind of go at your own pace, and but you also get out of your comfort zone as well, and it's like holding you accountable, and your progress is trackable as well. So bad teachers is a really big one. Like she just said, she wasn't really feeling like they didn't hone in on the things that she wasn't really sure on, and the teacher just kept progressing her through, and that's bad teachers. Another big one right there.
And I would dread my Spanish sessions. So not long after, I just decided to end the Spanish lessons. Even though my structured Spanish lessons didn't quite work out, I still continued to learn just in a different way. I had always heard that the best way to learn a language is to find a lover, and well, he found me. He came up to me in the gym, cracked a silly joke, we both laughed, introduced ourselves, and he asked to take me to lunch. And one thing about me, is I love a confident man, so of course I said yes. At first, I wasn't expecting much because, let's be real, dating can be so exhausting, but we clicked. He was born and raised in Guadalajara, had moved to Playa del Carmen in his adulthood, built a house, and was living the beach life. He was also fluent in English. As we began to spend more time together, he would immerse me in Mexican culture, take me to local spots that immigrants didn't know about, and quiz me daily on Spanish.
Okay, so here's another thing, right? Okay, so she mentioned that she met somebody, she met a lover, and the best way to learn Spanish is to have a lover, right? Well, that works. I would say 100%, a lot better if the person in question doesn't speak English, right? If like the only way the two people can communicate is through one language, which is Spanish, then you kind of have to. That's kind of like where you're more so like trying to express yourself more often, right? Because if if you date somebody who's bilingual, fluent in both languages, they're just gonna default. Like if we're talking, I really need to explain something to you that's important. I'm just gonna default to the language I know you speak. Now, if the other person doesn't speak English and they only speak Spanish, then I could that. But that's not you know that's that's just not the best way, really. But let's keep going.
Vocabulary and slang. This kind of hands-on learning was exactly what I needed. And honestly, it was working because for the first time ever, I was starting to feel confident speaking Spanish in public. With this newfound sense of confidence, I decided I wanted to be more proactive about speaking Spanish in public. So one day I needed to go to the supermarket to grab a few items. I would usually go to Walmart because it was closer to my apartment, but I asked for help. In Spanish, of course. I spotted a worker, walked up to her, and I confidently said, Disculpa, ¿dónde está la baterías? And she looked at me and laughed. In retrospect, I now know that the sentence I used was not grammatically correct and baterías is not the exact word for what I was looking for, but come on now. It's very evident that Spanish is not my first language, but at least I was trying. I didn't go up to her with Google Translate in her face. I made an effort, but instead, she went and grabbed another coworker.
Okay, so this is another thing I talk about as well. What I call people trying to bully you, right? Like Spanish bullies, right? Like, what is laughing at somebody trying to learn another language? Like, what is that? I had to go through shit like that too when I was learning Spanish. People laughing at me, people trying to make me feel bad because I'm trying to learn Spanish or telling me how bad my Spanish is. I'm like, dude, I'm learning the language, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. This is what I've always noticed. The main people who make fun of you for trying to speak another language are people who don't speak any language at all, or don't speak a second language, right? And they probably never will because people who learn a second language know the time, the practice, the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to like actually learn another language. So they're not gonna be rude to you. So you know, I really hate that this happened to her though. But yeah, that does happen. It does happen.
Had me repeat what I had just asked her. They exchanged looks and they both laughed in my face. In that moment, I felt so small, but I still needed my batteries. So instead, I showed them a picture and she simply pointed at an owl. When I got to the owl, I literally burst into tears. I'm a smart girl. I know the difference between when someone is laughing with me versus when someone is laughing at me. And that hurt me deeply. Not only was it embarrassing, it completely shattered my confidence. And after that, I honestly stopped trying because what is the point if my
this really kind of breaks my heart because I went through a similar situation where I was speaking Spanish and somebody literally just laughing at me and I cried too. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, damn, I'm trying to really learn this language and it's already tough as it is, and you laughing at me. So, but if you have a Spanish coach like me, you know, I know what this feels like. Trust me, and I know it's probably gonna happen to you in your journey of learning Spanish. So, you know, I wish she would have locked in with me before all this.
efforts are going to be ridiculed and mocked. That experience was a turning point for me. Instead of pushing through, I completely gave up, and that's where I went wrong. But at least I know the correct word for batteries now. pilas. Migration has been happening for centuries, and one of the most natural ways to find a sense of belonging in a new country is to connect with those from your home country. This happens everywhere. Here in Atlanta, there are neighborhoods where mostly Indian or Mexican communities live, creating their own communities filled with familiar culture, language, and traditions. And oftentimes, many people in these communities will not feel the need to learn English because they don't have to, and some of them have children that speak English that can assist them. I did the exact same thing in Mexico. I found comfort and solace in the expat community. It was easy to connect with people because we were on similar journeys, and it was effortless to make friends because we spoke the same language and had a common background. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, it can become a crutch, and that's where I went wrong. I surrounded myself.
Another fantastic point. You know, a lot of times when people move to Mexico, they just kind of stay in like English bubbles. And there's a lot of reasons for that, right? Like she said, it's comfortable, it's easy to make friends, things like that. And learning Spanish is tough when you don't have the right systems in place, right? When you don't have like the right study material or the right coach involved, like it a lot of that. So why would you? You know what I mean? I could just everything I need. I could just talk to somebody in English, and I could just stay in this bubble. I don't really need to speak Spanish, but when you have a Spanish learning system, you know, some like a coach that's going to guide you through, get you out of your comfort zone. You can have best of both worlds. You can have all your friends in English and make more friends in Spanish. You know what I'm saying? And you doubling, tripling the max output, and you could be the bridge between English speakers and Spanish speakers, and then you could like make the area, make the communities intertwine and make it 20 times better.
Were almost exclusively Americans, which meant that I rarely needed to speak Spanish. So the sense of urgency to learn the language soon faded because I was comfortable within my expat bubble. Looking back, I now see that as the biggest mistake I made in the 3.5 years I spent living abroad in Mexico. I wish I would have pushed myself out of my comfort zone. I wish I would have limited my interactions with expats and intentionally placed myself in environments to make friends with locals. I had so many missed opportunities to connect with locals simply because I did not speak Spanish. I remember when I lived in Playa del Carmen, I went wandering around on my bike one day and stumbled across a skate park. So a few days later, I brought my rollerblades to that skate park to skate, and I noticed that everyone was on roller skates, and it was just me and a 5-year-old little girl on roller blades. And she was so excited to see me. She came up to me and she wanted to talk to me and skate with me, and I couldn't even communicate with her. How freaking embarrassing. And when I lived in Mexico City, a lot of the Uber drivers would want to talk to me as we made our way to my destination, and a wave of anxiety would overcome me because I would struggle to understand them, let alone respond. To be honest, I think that that should drive.
Yeah, this was yeah, I just wanted to bring this point about the Uber drivers and taxis. You know, these are great sources to learn Spanish, right? Like being in Ubers, being in taxis and stuff like that. This is a opportune time because, as she said, you have anxiety, right? They're gonna, they can have different accents. They could, put sentences in different ways you never heard. This is the golden moment, But like, I understand it's like one of the toughest things when you don't know, you don't speak the language. That's why, you got to have a Spanish learning system, y'all.
Sorry situation scared me more than I initially realized because after that experience, I subconsciously avoided locals and tried to limit my interactions with them due to my fear of being judged and laughed at for my efforts to speak Spanish. That fear really held me back. At the end of the day, it is a lesson learned, and now that I know better, I plan to do better. Now that I'm back in the States, I didn't think that I would have many interactions with Mexican people anymore because I live in a black neighborhood and Atlanta is kind of segregated. If you know, you know. But the house across the street from us had been vacant and for sale for over a year, and a family finally bought it. And guess where they're from? Veracruz, Mexico. I was so excited when I seen them. I ran across the street. I introduced myself. I let them know that I lived in Mexico for a little while. And guess what their first question was? You speak Spanish? I was so embarrassed to say no. Oh my God. Like a sense of shame just overcame me. And that's when I realized, girl, you need to learn Spanish. And so it begins. Here are.
Yeah, this is that was an excellent point she brought up too. It's like, you may not stay in Mexico forever, right? But you do when you leave Mexico, you do want to at least leave with Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Because like I don't know, leaving with Spanish just it just means a lot, right? It means you communicated with the people, you learn some stuff, you immerse yourself in the culture and all these things. Yeah, I mean this is really a great video. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to get.
Steam.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, guys, great video. I'm really glad she made this video. This takes a lot of courage and accountability on things to like just put out to the world. This is why I didn't succeed at what I wanted to do, but I just want to express to her and anybody else watching this video that listen, it's not your fault, right? The fault is how we're taught through as a young age to learn things. It's like, the school way. What we need or what you need, how anybody learns a language, you need a system. You need a system that's going to keep you accountable, that's going to track your progress, that's going to get you out of your comfort zone. It's going to give you random interactions, fun interactions, and learning as a community and like speaking to people and having fun. You know what I mean? That's how we learn languages, right? So yeah, if you guys are interested in speaking Spanish, you've been struggling to speak Spanish, and it's you living in Mexico, you tried everything. Go to the link in the description box below, and I have a master class on my Spanish learning system where I break it all down. And just go into the link in the description box below at SpanishHacker.com. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me, man. I really want you guys to learn Spanish. It's one of the greatest things that I've achieved in my life is being bilingual, and I want to share. I want to share with you guys. I want you guys to make videos of you talking about how you learn Spanish in Mexico and all the cool things, all the cool people, all the experiences you've had. I want to hear more about it. I want to help you get there. So, all right, y'all. Like I said, once again, link in the description box below. Sign up to watch a masterclass on my Spanish hacker method. All righty. Y'all be easy. Peace.